Tampa, Phoenix, Arizona, welcome. Virginia Beach, Virginia. Massachusetts. Again, if you're just coming on, there is a chat button at the bottom. Please feel free to announce yourself, where you're from, and as the webinar continues, if you want to pose any questions to the hosts, enter them there. You are attending the Think and Grow Rich webinar, and if you are trying to multitask, this is not one of those evenings. This is the evening that we're going to ask for you to focus on one thing, and that is this: for you, not for us, for you. Chicago, Illinois, welcome in the house. Upstate New York. We have a flood of people coming on, so for technological reasons and just the flow of traffic coming in, we're going to start about 8:02 or 8:03. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, welcome, glad you're here. Mindy from Alberta, Canada. Chicago, Illinois. Carthage, Texas. Welcome to all of you. Again, when you show up, please just enter where you're from. Dawn from Naples, Florida, welcome, glad you're here. Again, you are attending the Think and Grow Rich webinar, The Science of Wealth Building. Hosts will be Brian and Madison Del Maso, the #1 coach, father-daughter team in the world. So stay tuned. And as everyone comes on, we get set, we'll begin the webinar. Worcester, Mass. Look, Leominster, Massachusetts, Palm Bay, Florida, welcome. Glad you're all here. Long Island, New York. Australia, thank you. Old Bridge, New Jersey. Thanks to all of you for announcing, coming in. We appreciate you. Glad you're here. We hope to make a change in your life this evening. This is that kind of event. Taunton, Mass, in the house. Welcome. Orange, Mass. The Think and Grow Rich webinar will begin in about 2 minutes. Worcester, Orange. So please, as you file in, just let us know where you're from, get comfortable. If you're multitasking, again, this is not the evening for that. This evening is for you. And we're asking you for yourself to turn everything else off. Turn off the phones, turn off everything. And please open your heart and mind to what you're about to hear, because it can change your life. Miami in the house, welcome, glad you're here. Topeka, Kansas. We're glad you're here also. PA, hello to you and welcome. Glad you're with us. About 2 more minutes, folks, and we're going to get going here. We'll be bringing Maddie and Brian Del Maso on in just a moment. You are attending the Think and Grow Rich webinar, The Science of Wealth Building. And make no mistake, it is a science, and we have the formula. St. Cloud, Florida, welcome. Glad you're here. Massachusetts again, welcome. Glad you're here. So again, shut your ringer off. For you, I'm not telling you, I'm asking you. For you, shut your ringers off. Focus on what you're about to hear. Las Vegas in the house, welcome. So if anyone's just coming on, again, this is the Think and Grow Rich webinar. There is at the bottom the chat button, which most of you have found. But in addition to letting us know where you're from, which we're glad you're doing that, we're glad to share the hello with you. In addition to that, any questions you have throughout the webinar, any comments you want to make, or any clarity, because you're going to be hearing some information that's deep and you don't hear anywhere else. So if it doesn't sound familiar or you need clarity, please step up and ask, because we don't want something to go over your head to where you could have an understanding and apply it better into your life. Massachusetts, again, welcome. Oklahoma, welcome. Glad you're here. Kauai, love that island. Welcome. Glad you are here. Glad to all of you for showing up. Glad you're here. hopefully will make it an impact in your evening you won't soon forget. Dallas, Texas, welcome. Glad you're here. So here's the thing. Think and Grow Rich webinar is where you are, Science of Wealth Building. And I have to tell you, my name is Kirk Wayne, and I would like to welcome you to this main evening's event. This information has the ability to change your life. Please know that, please believe it, and just please be open to the possibility of that because it is real. This is the Think and Grow Rich webinar, Science of Wealth Building, and it is a compiled information of over 59 years from Bob Proctor and beyond. Tonight, the #1 father and daughter coaching team in the world will be presenting Brian and Madison Del Maso. They are also the #1 father and daughter coaching team for the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Madison, who you'll be hearing, has been recently awarded the youngest silver pin holder in Proctor and Gallagher Institute's history in the entire world. And Brian, of course, has a string of accolades that run as long as your arm. I will say this one more before I turn it over to them. What I love about these two people is they have studied this information like a scientist, and they have one mission. Service to many leads to greatness. And I know them personally, and I know they believe that in their heart, and their lives and their examples show it to be true. So without further ado, I welcome you, Brian and Madison Del Maso.
Hey, Kirk, warm introduction. Can you hear me okay, bud?
Yes, you sound great.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks again for doing that. Thanks for everybody for being here from all over the world. It looks like I was blown away looking at, Portugal and England and Spain. It was like, oh my God, this is an international webinar. We're just happy to be here for you guys and servicing you guys and opening your eyes, hopefully, to some ideas and principles that have completely changed my life, Madison's life, Kirk's life, and many thousands of other people around the world. And I want to start off by telling a little bit of a story. This one's obviously one that goes right to my heart as a proud papa. This picture here is a picture of my daughter up on stage as a result of this information. So I can't claim any, very little, maybe a little bit because I introduced it to it, but this is not my information. It's not Bob's information. What you're going to see here tonight is the information on how the world's wealthiest people think and act and operate. All right, and what you're seeing here is Bob recognizing my daughter on stage in front of 118 countries. I want you to think about that. 23-year-old girl, 2 years into the content, being recognized on stage as the youngest person in history to achieve the silver pin. And it's just really a testament to the content and what we do here for people. So very, very proud. And let me ask you this. How many of you guys would like to learn how the world's wealthiest people think and act and operate? How many of you would like to learn how my daughter got this information at such a young age in such a short period of time and how she's been able to really impact all the areas of her life? She was a fitness model. She, did very well there. She's vice president of sales and marketing in our company. She's a salesperson. She's got multiple revenue streams. And that's what we're going to show you guys here tonight is really how the world's wealthiest people think and act and operate. So I couldn't be more proud. As you can imagine, if you're a parent, very, very proud papa moment there. So guys, think about this. 96% of the world's wealth is earned by 1% of the population. Really think about this. And again, like Kirk said, if you could silence your ringers, silence your family, silence everything, and just pay attention here, you're going to get some eye-opening content that I think will help you. But look at this statement. 96% of the world's wealth is earned by 1% of the people. And more importantly, why is that? Everybody goes to school, so why is it that only 1% of the people or less are earning almost all the money in the world? And another really sad statistic, right? 93% of the people in North America get to retirement age, and they have to work second jobs just to make ends meet. Right? Now, there's nothing wrong with working at, Home Depot and Walmart, and if you're elderly, if you want to do it for social reasons, right? If you want to get out of the house and you love the social aspects, but to have to do it for income after 40 or 50 years of working pretty much says that the educational system's broken, and the plan that they had for earning money is not valid, not working, right? Now, guys, the reason this is we're simply not taught how to build wealth in schools, and I'm not here to beat up on the schools. I have nothing but respect for teachers and the educational system. It's not their fault. they're working with a broken system. They're teaching memorization instead of reasoning, which is thinking. We're teaching a bunch of memorization, then we're asking people to think when they get out of school, but they've never been taught how to think. And that may sound like a bold statement, but I'll prove it as we go on here, right? So we're not taught how to build wealth. We're not taught decision making, right? So many kids go into college undeclared, which means no decision. So I'm about to spend 4 years and $100,000 without a decision. Just think about that one for a minute and let that sink in. Almost all kids go to school undeclared. I shouldn't say almost all, but more than 50%, right? So let that one sink in as you're going through the webinar tonight, because that's a pretty crazy statement, right? We're not taught self-image. We're not taught things like wealth building, obviously, right? If 93% of the people are not able to retire in America, then we haven't been taught anything about wealth, right? And guys, we haven't been taught this here. We have not been taught paradigms. And this is what we're going to focus on in the first part of this seminar, our paradigms. What is a paradigm? All right, guys, so a paradigm is just a fancy word that we use. It really stands for a set of mental programs that are stored in your subconscious mind that are controlling all of your habitual behavior. And I know that's a mouthful, so I'm going to say it again, right? A paradigm is all of the programs that are stored in your subconscious mind that are controlling all of your results, right? Now, the thing about a paradigm is you did not choose these programs, right? Smoking is a paradigm. That is not a physical habit. It's a mental habit. More than likely, if anybody here smokes, you were around an environment where your parents were smoking, or you got into school and the kids were smoking, or you got into college and they were smoking, or you got into the military and they were smoking. Babies aren't born smoking, right? It's a learned habit. So I want you to think about how strong these programs are. Now, the thing about a paradigm is it's neither good or bad, right? And the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between smoking and walking. Walking is a stored program that we learn at an early age. So I want to be very, very clear here. Paradigms are not good or bad. They're just programs that we access that are controlling all of our habitual behavior, right? So smoking is a paradigm, eating, learning to walk, walking is a paradigm, speaking. Think about this one. You never chose to speak the language you're speaking or your primary language. Wherever you were born, that was just spoken around you. And as a baby, your subconscious is wide open and it went right into your subconscious mind, right? So I want you to think about that. We never chose the language even that we speak, unless you, as an adult, decide you want to choose a different language, right? So guys, wealth building is a program. It is a paradigm. It is a learned behavior. If you had grown up as Warren Buffett's son or daughter, you would have a program called massive wealth building. And you wouldn't think twice about it. It wouldn't be hard or easy. It just would be. It would be no different than walking or eating or smoking. Guys, type a 1 in the chat if this makes sense about these programs that are stored. When you grow up, right, whatever's going on around you, your parents, the schooling, what you think about earning money, right? If your parents are earning 50 grand a year, it's going to be a hard concept for you to understand 50,000 a day. That makes sense, guys? So a lot of ones in there. This is making sense right off the bat. This is not hard information. You're going to understand all night long here. What we're teaching is not rocket science. It's just not taught in school. And it's a shame because it's not hard information. Anybody can learn this. Anybody can learn to build wealth, to live in a perfectly healthy body, to have amazing relationships, and live what we call a heavenly life, right? So guys, we're going to teach you how to make a habit of wealth building, and you're going to have some decision making to do at the end to decide in 2020 if you finally, once and for all, want to break that cycle and learn how to build wealth, right? So guys, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this. If we could teach you how the world's wealthiest people think and act and operate, what would that be worth? Think about that. If we could teach you how the world's wealthiest people process information, think, act, and operate and achieve, what would that be worth to you? Because that's what we're going to touch on here tonight. And guys, we're going to show you how the 1% thinks. All right? So guys, I have the privilege and the honor to introduce my lovely daughter to come to the stage here and give you guys a little bit of a lesson in wealth building. And Maddie, if you can hear me, if you could unmute yourself, turn your camera on, it's go time 2.0.
I can hear you, but you have to turn my camera on.
I do. I am a control freak. Bear with me for a second. Hold on a second here, guys. Where are you? Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. There you go. I just made you a co-host. It didn't allow me to turn your camera on.
I
Perfect.
think we're good now.
We are good.
See, you can learn while you earn, guys. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I would love to be able to sit here and take credit for what my dad was mentioning early on in the webinar. It's been an absolute dream come true to be on stage with Bob in front of 118 countries. That, if you asked me 5 years ago, is not something that I ever would have thought would occur in my lifetime. And I dedicated all to this information that I've been studying and teaching for the past 2 years, right? I thought that I was going to be just I thought I was going to work retail my whole life. I had never thought about what I truly wanted. And so flash forward to what my dad and I have created now is just an absolute dream come true. And it's nothing short of, the information that we've been studying for the last 2 years. So I'm really excited to dive in with you guys. But first, I'd love to tell you a little bit about my dad. He started off as a mechanical engineer, right? So a normal traditional background, went to, school, followed his brother through trade school, went to school for mechanical engineering, ended up working at General Electric for about 15 years, and then stepped into construction as a side business. And so once he was in construction, he moved into entrepreneurship. But more importantly, guys, what I want to highlight to you is that his life, love him to bits, love you, Dad, but it was a bit of a roller coaster, right? I mean, he has been married and divorced 3 times, okay? So he's a normal human. And he's completely transformed over the last 5 years after this information. So when he was in construction, it wasn't until he came across Bob Proctor's information and the information Bob's been studying for 57 years and the information we now study, right? This isn't our information. We want to make that really clear. We're just really good students of it. Okay, so once he came across this information, he ended up taking that construction business from under $1 million to over $8 million in revenue in 1 year with one single revenue stream. Okay, and since then, he's gone on to create multiple revenue streams, right? He's a CEO of 4 different companies now. He has a gaming company, a construction company, a software company, right? And we have a consulting company together. So in the midst, obviously this information has brought him a very, very, very well-rounded life. We're going to talk a lot about finances tonight, but he would agree with me that he has just became so much more of himself. And I'm really proud of him as his daughter as well. So next slide, Daddy-o. Thank you. So obviously this brought us so close together, this information. I remember I was in school and I saw this drastic change and I was like, what is going on, right? If you see someone close to you change that dramatically, you can't help but ask what's going on. What are you doing? What's different? What are you studying? What are you into? And so we started studying together. And if we didn't start studying together about, 2.5 years ago, I would be working retail right now. If it wasn't for this information, I never would have had the idea in my head to be my dad's business partner. Okay, I just I wasn't thinking on that wave. I wasn't thinking that I was even worthy of being his business partner at that point. And so what we have done now is we've just kept studying together and really dove into this information. And it really was all born out of my dad's frustration going 43 years not knowing this information. Think about that. 43 years, right? We're not taught this stuff in schools. And so he went 43 years without understanding this information. And within 1 year, not 10 years, 1 year of knowing and learning and applying this information, he brought his income from under $1 million to over $8 million. Okay. So amazing, dramatic results. And now we've really stepped forward together and dedicated the rest of our lives to helping other people learn this stuff and get the results that they know that they should be getting. So we're going to jump into it now. I'm going to show you now how the typical masses think, right? This is how I used to think. This is probably how you used to think up until now. We start with our results, right? In grade school, we're programmed to look at our grades, and the grades dictate whether we're smart or not so smart, okay? So we look at the results in our report card or their grades. We look at our bank account statements for results. We look at the scale for results, and we're programmed to let our results cause our thinking. Okay, and we let our thinking, once we get emotionally involved in these results, they take over our mind, and our thinking causes our feelings. Okay, and I want this to sink in for you. Feelings are just a word that we use to describe the vibration that we are in. Okay, so if someone's depressed, or if someone's in a bad mood, Maybe they're in a really good mood, right? But they don't know why. It means that they're in a high vibration if they're in a good mood. If they're depressed, they're in a very low vibration. Okay, so our feelings cause our actions, right? And our actions then set up the reactions and the results that we see in our life. And it continues to be this hamster wheel of a circle, right? The masses hamster wheel, I like to call it. We all get stuck in this circle of looking at our results. Now, what I want you guys to do from now going forward is I want you to start thinking like the 1%, right? Millionaires, we start with new thinking in the conscious mind. We don't look at the report card. We don't look at the scale. We don't look at the bank account. We wake up and the first thing we do is we say, what do we want? What do I want? What am I going after? What's my goal? What am I emotionally involved in? What do I want to bring into my life? Right? We don't wake up and start bringing the kids to school and freaking out and trying to, make everyone lunch and rushing to the job in traffic, beeping the horn, right? That's typical masses thinking. What we want to do from now on going forward is start with new thinking in the conscious mind. What do we want? And that new thinking causes new feelings that serve us, right? Good feelings. And those feelings in turn cause new actions that will bring us closer to the things that we want in life. Now, this isn't rocket science, guys. Would you agree? This isn't like overly complicated. It's just really not taught in schools. And so those new actions then cause our new results. And they're favorable results. They're different results. Why? Because we started with new thinking in the conscious mind. So some of you on here, you're going to have to make a decision tonight. And decision was the first thing that my dad taught me when I started studying this stuff. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But decision making, successful people, they make decisions fast, right? They don't procrastinate. They don't ponder over a decision for weeks. Something resonates, they make a decision, they sign up and they do it and they figure it out later. Okay, so I want to precursor you guys, right? Decision making. If you're not that great at decision making right now, you want to get really good at it. Why? Because you're going to put yourself in the boat with successful people, how they think, act, and operate. This quote, I used to see this quote all the time. All the time I used to see this quote on Google Images, on Pinterest, you name it, Instagram, people throwing it up everywhere. And not until I understood this information did I have a greater appreciation for it, right? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If we think about Steve Jobs and the iPhone, right? I mean, think about this. This is a supercomputer in our pockets that we just carry around, call people in Tokyo. There's someone from Tokyo on here. Call people from Tokyo and say, hey, webinar is going on, want to join? In a matter of seconds through the ether to Tokyo. I mean, that's insane. I don't even know how it works still, right? But he thought he could, so he did. He thought it in his mind, so he did in the physical world. Now, if you think you can't, you won't, right? If you think you can't, you won't. It's that simple. So I really want you guys to let this phrase and quote sink in with you. And I'm going to hand it back over to my dad, guys. He's going to get into how you can understand how the world's wealthiest people think, act, and operate so you can get results like them.
Hey, Matt, thanks for that. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Boy, a couple of hard-hitting facts there. I didn't know we were going public. But it's true, guys. I had a pretty much, kind of a roller coaster life. I've had a blessed life, very, very grateful. I've had a lot of amazing experiences, but I have had some ups and downs and some marriages and, built homes, lost homes, built businesses, lost businesses. And it wasn't until I got in front of this information that I was really able to understand how the world's wealthiest people, they don't live from the outside in. They live from the inside out. They decide what they want, and then they super saturate their mind with it, hold that vision to the exclusion of all else, and they cause things to happen. And that's what we're going to work with you guys here tonight. So guys, one of the things we work with when we're talking about paradigms is we're working with changing paradigms, changing mindset. But herein lies the problem. When we want to change our mind, what does the mind look like? What does the mind look like? Guys, type in the chat, what do you think the mind looks like? Let's see if we get some different answers. What do you guys think the mind looks like? Anybody have any answers on that one? What does the mind look like? A network of nerves. I like that. Anybody else? What does the mind look like? A lot of people, when we talk about a maze, a lot of people, when we talk about the constant fireworks, I like that one. Talk about the mind, they think the organ of the brain, right? They think the organ of the brain. Now, guys, your brain is no more your mind than your fingernails or your skin. Right? Your brain is an organ. It's an electronic switching station. It sends and receives signals. Your heart is a pump, right? But your brain is no more your mind than any other part of your body. right? So this is the confusing part. If we need to change our mind to change our paradigm, how do we change something that we don't know what it looks like, right? The mind is movement. The mind is energy in motion. And that's part of the thing that stumps most people is like, what does that mean? It's consciousness. Some people call it God consciousness or God, or scientists would call it conscious awareness or universal consciousness. But regardless of what it is, the fact of the matter is your brain is nothing more than an electronic switching station, sends and receives signals. So where do those signals come from? Right? Now, since that's a confusing picture, what Dr. Thurman Fleet did in the late 1960s is he came up with an image called, we call it the stick man. And the larger circle here, we're going to let that represent the mind with two parts, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And guys, I know if anybody here is a doctor or a psychologist, there's many parts to the mind, but for the purposes of this webinar, we have a conscious mind, we have a subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind as a data storage center. And I want to explain why it's so hard to change habits. Once you have a habit like smoking, it's very hard to quit. Smoking is not a physical habit, it's a mental one. The mind drives the body, not the other way around. But the reason why it becomes hard to quit is because it's locked into the subconscious. Now, it's very important to understand that the subconscious needs to be like this. Otherwise, you would literally have to learn how to walk every morning. Imagine waking up and you have to learn how to walk, learn how to speak, and learn how to eat before you go to work. All right, guys, so think about this. Your subconscious mind is like an operating system in a computer. It stores programs from the conscious mind. Does that make sense? Type of one in the chat if that kind of resonates on how the conscious and the subconscious mind work. So this is why when we consciously make an idea like I want to be wealthy, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be physically fit, we get a conscious idea, but you got to get it into the subconscious mind because it's the subconscious mind that drives the body into action, right? Human beings, we exist on 3 planes: spiritual, intellectual, and physical. Most people are acting only in the physical and the intellectual, and they don't know anything about the spiritual, including myself for 43 years, guys. There's no judgment here. Maddie told you pretty clearly that I was rowing the same boat of ignorance for 43 years. All right, guys, so let's take a little deeper here. You see here that there's a negative side and a positive side of the flow. And on the negative side of the equation here is ignorance. Now, guys, we were born ignorant. Everybody, every single one of us. And ignorance is not a bad term. It just means not knowing. So what happens is we tend to have worry and doubt about things we're ignorant about. When you first went to drive a car, you might have had fear because you were worrying and doubting. What if I crash? What if I stall? What if I don't pass my driver's license test? So we're programmed to have worry and doubt by default, which causes negative thinking. And worry and doubt in the conscious mind causes fear in the subconscious mind. This is why 97% of people are failing in a lot of areas of their life, especially in business and wealth building. Right? What if I quit my job? What if I fail? If I start that company, what if it doesn't make it? Well, guys, what if it does make it? What if you get to $1 million your first year? If you're going to what if, start what ifing in the right direction. Again, guys, this stuff is not rocket science. It's very easy to understand. It's just that most people are programmed on the side of ignorance. So this is what happens. Worry and doubt in the conscious mind causes fear in the subconscious mind. Right? Now, remember what I told you about the power of the subconscious mind. That fear, that emotion of fear has to, by law, not by opinion, it has to, by law, express to and through your body as the physical form of anxiety. Think about that. Guys, type a 1 in the chat. Anybody who's ever had anxiety over anything. This is why you have it. It comes from ignorance. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way. Whatever you have anxiety, whatever you fear, if you fear public speaking, it's because you just haven't done it. Right? You just don't know. It's just not knowing. There's nothing to fear about anything. So if you've ever had anxiety, this is why we teach people to cure anxiety in a matter of 1 or 2 sessions, not 5 or 10 years on a couch. This is easy stuff, right? Now, anxiety produces procrastinations. This is what causes people to stop moving, right? We say, like, I'm going to start that business. I'm going to reach out to 100 people. We get anxiety, and it's like, I don't like that feeling. So instead of pushing through it, we go sit on the couch, turn on the TV, and we watch other people becoming millionaires on TV. So if you procrastinate, this is why. Right? Now, procrastination ultimately is going to lead to depression because, guys, we were born creators. My good friend Kirk would tell you, we were born creators. We weren't born to retire. We weren't born to do some mundane task for 40 years and then retire. We were born to search out and seek out what we're passionate about, fall in love with it, and do it forever. So if we're not moving towards creation, we're moving towards disintegration. And this is why procrastination produces depression, because we're not in a creative state, right? So most depression, not all, but most depression, this is what happens. It actually starts from ignorance. It starts from not knowing that you can achieve whatever you want. We're just not taught that stuff in school. We're not encouraged. We're taught 1 + 1 = 2. We're taught a little bit of math, a little bit of history, a little bit of science. We're actually taught to be school teachers instead of being taught decision and self-image and imagination, right? So guys, this eventually leads to a body not at ease, which is what we call dis-ease. So what we're going to teach you here tonight, if you could take any one thing from it, it's this section here. Take a screenshot, commit this, come back to this recording. You guys are going to get the recordings. Study this one section here over and over again, because you're starting to get knowledge. And we get knowledge through study and understanding, and it creates positive thinking. When you start to get knowledge about real estate and you start to purchase real estate and build a real estate empire, it feels really good. And anybody can do that. It doesn't take money to buy real estate. That's a whole nother webinar, but that's the facts. It doesn't take money to buy real estate. It just takes really good ideas and thinking, people that are thinking. And when you're thinking, it produces faith, right? Faith is the opposite of fear. Faith is an emotion. It's not a religious thing, although it can be. It's an emotion. It's the polar opposite of fear. So since both of these are choices, why don't you simply choose to have faith that you can succeed instead of fear that you can't? Let that one sink in for a minute. The reason is because of your paradigms, right? Your parents, your friend, people in school, you can't do that. Nobody in our family's done that. Nobody's gone to college. We've never had a millionaire in our family. Goes right in your subconscious mind, and then you grow up thinking you can't do it. Again, guys, I'll prove it to you. If you were a brand new baby, let's take you as a baby, and let's put you growing up with Warren Buffett as your dad instead of how you grew up. Now, there's nothing wrong with the way you grew up. There's nothing wrong with the way I grew up, right? Look at my daughter, Maddie. She grew up a little different, right? She was being recognized on stage because she had earned over $300,000 in 3 months as a 23-year-old with multiple revenue streams. Now, I don't take credit for that. All I did is show her some information, right? I led by example. But imagine if I was born Warren Buffett's son. I'd be a multi-billionaire by now, right? Same with you. At least in regards to money. Now, I don't know Warren Buffett personally yet, but at least in regards to money, if you were born as that man, with that man as your father in that environment, you would probably be a multi-hundred millionaire, if not a billionaire by now. Does that make sense, guys? So it has nothing to do with you, and mostly has to do with your environment. What we do when we work with somebody for 6 months is we change their mental environment to the information of millionaires and billionaires. It's actually that simple. It's not rocket science, it's just not taught in schools. So guys, this is where the faith comes from. A little bit of study, a little bit of understanding produces faith. Faith produces well-being and calmness. We call that mastering the art of remaining calm. Produces acceleration, which is the body in motion. Next thing you know, you're taking massive action. You're in a high vibration. Your tonalities are different. Your sales are going through the roof. And you don't even know why, but it's all about the vibration and the paradigms. You're causing acceleration, massive action, and massive action produces a body at ease. We always tell people you got to slow down to speed up, right? Everybody's so scattered. They don't have willpower. They can't focus their energy. They're worried about so many things happening. Let me hit you with this one, guys. Worrying is like praying for what you don't want. I'm going to say that one again. Worrying is like praying for what you don't want to happen, actually causing it to happen. If you're worried about getting a foreclosure, you're going to have one. If you're worried about getting sick, you're going to get sick. Guys, this is not opinion, it's physics. The only thing with the 1%, what we understand is we don't worry. We pray or we have faith. We put energy out towards building businesses, building empires, building physically fit bodies, right? So this is some of the difference here, guys. All right, guys, I always like to have fun with this. Take a look at this picture. I want you to type into the chats, what do you think this picture represents? Type in the chat, what do you think this picture represents here? Worry and doubt. Somebody's cheating. Chaos, worry, chaos. A lot of chaos. Analysis, paralysis. Right? This is a good picture that I found. Overwhelmed. I like that. Stress, absolutely, right? So think about this. If you're worrying all day long, look at the face on this guy. How are you gonna solve problems? If you're worrying about anything, you can't solve problems. It's a low vibration. Right? When you wake up with intention, and you're in a high vibration, you're very clear. You can solve problems, right? Doubt, worry, fear. right? How about this picture, guys? How about this picture? What do you guys think this picture represents? What do you guys think this picture here represents? Happiness, faith, success. Yeah, faith, clarity, success, self-belief. Yeah, this is a good picture, but I think for these people here, they didn't wonder if they're going to be successful. Steve Jobs started with $750 in a garage. Think about that. Created the largest company in the world. Now, he didn't wonder if he was going to be successful. He didn't care if he had the money. He knew that if you make a decision, the money will come. I'm going to say that one again. If you guys here make a decision on anything, the money will come. If you have a good idea and you pursue it, the money will come. Most people don't understand that concept, which is why most people are stuck. All right, guys, so commit that one, commit that whole series there to memory. Come back and watch that again. That's a very, very powerful part of what we teach. The next section of what we teach here, guys, is levels of awareness. This is also another very powerful part you can come back to. But I want you guys to think about something. We become what we think. This is called thinking into results. Thoughts become things. If you don't think, thoughts become things. If you're on a cell phone, that used to be a thought. Let that one bake your noodle a little bit. If you're holding a cell phone, that was nothing more than thought energy at one point. Didn't exist. Went from the no thing to the something, to and through people into the physical form of the thing. Every single one of you is doing this right now. It's called the transmutation of energy. It's just if you're not really thinking, your transmutation of energy is just leading to, you know, your house, your car, your family, your job. That's a transmutation of energy, though. If you've ever bought a house, that's a transmutation of energy. At one point, you thought about it, and then you kept thinking about it for a long enough period of time to cause you to call a realtor, put the money together, make an offer, and buy a house. That's a transmutation of energy. Well, so is building a $100 million company. It's no different. And so is building a depressed body. That's no different. Your belief system is the only difference, but the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between building a $100 million company or building a physically depressed human being. No difference whatsoever. That's a conscious awareness. All right, guys, so we're going to get into awareness a little bit. And I think here that this chart that I made, this slide deck here is going to show you a little bit about levels of awareness. So guys, we like to use money as a measuring stick. Now, it's not all about the money. When we say wealth, what I really mean is the human experience, happiness, relationships, love, physical fitness, human experience. And yes, money is one part of it, but it's the easiest part to fix or to increase. So earning $50,000 a year is just a level of awareness. It's a frequency. It's just like if I dial my daughter's phone number, I'm going to get her, right? I'm not going to get Kurt. I'm not going to get my buddy. I'm not going to get my mom. If I dial Maddie's frequency, I'm going to get Maddie 1,000 out of 1,000 times. Well, $50,000, that's a level of awareness. That's a vibration. It's an understanding. And so is $100,000. That's just a higher frequency. This is like a radio dial, like AM and FM stations, right? When you tune into the frequency of the information, you will learn how to build that wealth. 250,000, that's a frequency, right? So if you desire to go from 50,000 to 250,000 in income, you're going to have to raise your level of awareness and wealth building. There's no way around it. And there's two things you got to do. You got to get expert level coaching and a proven system that works. And that's what we have here. That's what we're going to show you tonight. That's what I learned. That's what Maddie learned, right? So here's the thing, guys. As we raise these levels, right, $500,000, $1 million a year, we start to lose people. People start to, I can't do that. 50,000, 100,000, most people get that. 250, you lose some. $500,000 a year, you're losing. Actually, you're losing 99% of the world because, right, the 1% are earning about $500,000 a year and up. So think about that spectrum. The top 1% of the income earners in the world, $500,000 to $1 billion a year. I don't know what the top person is earning, but it's probably, it's over $1 billion a year for sure because people like Jeff Bezos, probably a couple billion a year. Think about that spectrum, 1% from $500,000 to multiple billions a year. Like there's a lot of frequencies there, right? So everybody's stuck at the bottom of the ladder. The top of the ladder, there's nobody there, guys. It's wide open. Come join us, right? It's wide open. So these are all frequencies, 5 million a year, right? That's a place. Now, what you got to understand is you have to be able to go there in your mind. You have to go to $1 million in your mind. You have to visualize it morning, noon, and night. And you have to do this for a long enough period of time where you'll start to get ideas. You'll start to get on the frequency of that what's around you. All the ideas for that, they're all around you all the time. You're just not aware of it. Does that make sense, guys? So the more you study this material that we teach over and over and over, what happens, you start to connect the dots. You start to build those levels of awareness. Your body starts to move into motion. You start to start businesses. You start making deals. Your tonalities come up. Your vibration comes up. You start attracting all the things in your life that you're on the frequency with. You're getting around people, places, and things, and seminars. This is not rocket science. Again, it's just not taught in schools. Now, here's the beautiful truth, guys. And this has happened to me. My first experience in this content, I said, okay, let me set a goal of going from $1 million to 10 million in 12 months in my construction company. That's as big as I could think. This exact thing happened to me. I started studying repetitively, started raising my level of awareness, started closing deals, and we got to 8.5 million. But here's the beautiful truth. I could have been thinking way up here, right? You guys, right? When we go through this process and you make your first million, you're going to realize, my God, I could have been thinking 10 million and it wouldn't have been any different. Guys, there's no such thing as big or small. The earth is not big or small. There's only relativity, the universal law of relativity, and conscious awareness. That's a human thing. The earth isn't big or small until you compare it to a golf ball or the universe. Think about that. So $1 million a year, a month, a day, that's not big or small until you label it as such. And if you label it as big or unachievable, then it's going to be big and unachievable. If you start to fall in love with the idea that this, like, we're connected around the world, there's 1 million ways to make $1 million. It's not hard. There's 22-year-old kids that are making that per month, right? So it's the adults that are stuck in the paradigms usually, people that are my age and higher. The kids seem to grasp this really quickly these days. All right, guys, so this is called the science of getting rich, Think and Grow Rich for a reason. And what I want to get into now is a little bit of the history of the content. All the stuff I'm sharing, none of this is my ideas for the most part. You know, I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I've been an architect, a builder, and now we teach this stuff all over the world. I've been very blessed to be working with Bob Proctor, and we are his #1 father-daughter coaching team in the world. And we're just carrying the torch. You know, Bob's been studying for years. But this information is not Bob's information either, right? As of recent times in the late 1800s, Andrew Carnegie was the catalyst of the reason of getting this information out to the masses. And he was the first recorded billionaire in history in the late 1800s. And Andrew Carnegie taught Napoleon Hill. Many of you know Napoleon Hill as the author of Think and Grow Rich, right? And he carried this information forward. And Napoleon Hill mentored Earl Nightingale, right, in the 60s and 70s. And Earl Nightingale mentored Bob Proctor. So Bob has been studying literally, this is the 60th year, right? He's going to be 86 years old, 60 straight years of studying the mind as it relates to wealth creation. He's been teaching for 6 decades. He's also not needed money in over 6 decades. Think about that one. This man he became a student of the material, became a millionaire when he was in his early mid-20s, late 20s. He has not needed money in 6 decades. And now he's been teaching this all over the world, and we are carrying that torch for him. So that's our mission. My and Maddie's mission is to be multi-generational men and women, right? Teaching and coaching this information all over the world. And that's what we're doing with you guys here tonight. So that's a little bit of the history of the content. None of it is my opinion. It's all based on science. It's all proven science. It's all easily duplicatable and easily teachable. All right, guys. So we all have mentors. We all have mentors. And if you want to succeed at a high level, you're going to have some mentors. So guys, I just want to do a little bit of a gauge right here. Type in the chat, type a 1 in the chat. How many of you are getting value out of this? How many of you your minds are blown and you're getting value? You had some aha moments, some things maybe you didn't know before about wealth building. What I can promise you here is that wealth building is actually easy. I thought it was difficult for 40 years, so it was difficult for 40 years. As soon as I grabbed onto the idea that it's easy, it became very easy. And it's the same thing with you. Like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or whether you think you cannot, you are correct. Guys, I want to ask you something. I want to ask your permission. Do I have your permission to share our success system with you? Bob's success system, our success system. Type a 1 in the chat if I have your permission to share a little bit about how we do this. Holy cow, lots of ones. Awesome. I wanted to get your permission, guys, because I want to make sure this is resonating. This is not anything that we need you to do. This is something that we hope you do and that we know that we can impact you guys all over the world in building wealth. There's no country that's any better or any worse at building wealth. It's the people. There's billionaires in every country on the planet. All right, guys? So we're going to talk a little about the lessons. There's 12 lessons in the Thinking and Results program. And the first lesson is on goal setting, and probably my example is a good example. Guys, I had just never set a goal of 10 million. That's the beautiful truth. The only reason I had never gotten to 10 million is I never even thought about it. Think about that in your own story. Have you ever made a decision to become a millionaire? Or even, have you ever made a decision to get to 200,000 a year? Or anything like that? That's usually the biggest problem. We never even think about it. So how's that going to happen? So lesson 1 is on decision making and goal setting. Lesson 2 is on the knowing doing gap. And we have one of our clients, Patrick Cochran. He went from $500,000 a year in his roofing company in one location to over $5 million in 12 months in 2 locations in Mass and Florida. I want you to think about it. He's in his late 20s. He's a client of ours, came to us just like you guys stuck. He was doing okay at a roofing business. We taught him how to close this knowing doing gap, and he went to $5 million in 12 months. So proud of him. And that's just the tip of the sword. Now they're going to 20 million. All right, so lesson 2 is the knowing doing gap. Lesson 3 is on the power of the subconscious mind. And you get a little taste of that. Whatever you program into the subconscious mind, it will cause the body to take action. If you start changing your programming towards millionaire, towards whatever you want, it will take action. And we had one of our clients, Anna Stratton, that came to us. She was in network marketing. She's a single mom, and she had a job. And within 3 weeks of understanding this lesson, she tripled her network marketing income. I can't make this stuff up. These are real people from all over the world, right? We have men, women, all different ages all over the world. Lesson 4, guys, is on inner potential. This is where we really dig into the stick man for the first time. And we have one of our clients here, Daniel Brisbois. I'm so proud of Daniel because this is not a monetary thing. Daniel was very depressed. He was borderline suicidal, come to find out. He was depressed. And he had a beautiful family. He had a beautiful career. He owns his own business. There's some things that had gone on in his life that we highlighted from his early days growing up. And I'm not going to dig deep into that. But he had some programming that he bought off onto, which just caused a lot of inner anger. And within, again, a couple of weeks of understanding this material, he released all that anger. He was thankful for his beautiful family, saved his marriage, teaches this stuff to his kids. He teaches this stuff at his work, at his auto detailing place. And everything about his life has changed just from just a capful of information. And that was mostly due to lesson 4. Lesson 5, guys, is understanding the environment. It's called Thinking and Results. It's the title chapter. And it's understanding how almost everybody here, most of you are being controlled by your environment. And I can prove it to you. What happens in a traffic jam? Do you get angry? If you do, you're letting your environment control you. If somebody called you an a-hole, would that upset you? If the answer is yes, you are being controlled by your environment. If your spouse has the ability to piss you off, if that happens to you, you are being controlled by your environment. Nobody here can control my mindset, right? And I don't say that to be arrogant. It doesn't make me any better than you guys. It just makes me more aware. And we have a new client, Whitney Johns, that's working with us. Very, just an amazing family, her and her husband, Jason, where she was letting her environment control her. A very unique story. I mean, she was at 7 figures and then had some environmental things control her, got off track. And as soon as we've only been working together for 2 months. As soon as we started working together, she learned this one concept about not letting the environment control you and living from the inside out. And we completely turned everything around. We got her moving towards 7 figures a month. That's her new goal, her and her family. A whole host of other things too. Just a beautiful family. Her and her husband are just amazing. But it's just amazing to see what a capful of information can do. And my mission is to get this stuff at the grade school level around the world globally. We got some work to do. But in the meantime, we got to work together on this. So guys, lesson 6 is about self-image and leadership. And you have to learn to lead yourself before you could ever lead anybody else. And if you do have aspirations of getting to 7 figures a year, you're going to have to lead a team or something. You're going to have to lead. It's not going to happen usually by yourself unless you're a real estate investor or, and even then you need realtors, you need bankers, you need a team of people. So I can't think of one thing that you can do on your own and get to really high levels of wealth. So you're going to have to lead. And we have a client of ours, Val Rogers. Absolutely love this woman. She was a a few different things. She's an amazing singer. She has that as a career. But she was an administrative assistant, had a few different things in the early days. And she's now building a $2 million car wash. And in order to, now there's nothing that an administrative assistant knows about building a car wash, but that doesn't matter. You don't need to know how. You just have to come up with an idea and pursue it. But what she did is she changed her self-image. When you change your self-image, the body has to follow. That's by law. That's not by opinion. If you change your self-image to an entrepreneur with multiple revenue streams, you will be an entrepreneur with multiple revenue streams over a reasonable period of time. And that's lesson 6, what we teach here. Lesson 7, guys, I can't think of anybody else better than my daughter to describe this one. This is overcoming fear and procrastination. When she first started digging into this material, it actually caused her to crash a little bit. It was like sensory overload. She didn't understand the studying. She didn't really study that hard. She kind of rejected the information, and it caused a chaotic vibration. She actually got a little anxiety from it because it was fear, doubt, lack, and worry. And she even wondered like what I thought about her. And then we dug a little deeper. We had a course correction. This lesson here taught her to be on the right side of the equation, the positive side of the equation. Guys, you don't have to know how it's going to happen. And I'll prove that to you. If you knew how to get to $1 million a year, you already would have done it. So you got to fall in love with the fact you never have to know how. You just have to make a damn decision on what you want and start pursuing it with faith and with education, with mentors. Does that make sense, guys? Type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. You're never going to know how until you actually achieve it. Once you achieve it, you can look back and you can tell people how you did it, but you're never going to know how on the way up. So lesson 7 is all on that. Lesson 8 is on the power of praxis. This is aligning beliefs and behavior. So guys, if you're on this webinar tonight and you're telling me you want to become a millionaire, you're going to have to align the behaviors with that. Right? You're going to have to get expert level coaching. You're going to have to get in a program. You have to get around people that know how to do that. You're going to have to make a decision. So belief and behavior, we have one of our clients, Kenny Coleman, absolutely love this kid, 23 years old. He sold his car to come work with us. Think about that one, 23 years old. How many of you would have done that one? Now, the reason he did that is because he happened to know Bob Proctor. He understood that Bob is he's the leading expert in the world teaching this, and we are Bob's top coach in the world. So you can either spend $100,000 a day with Bob or at a much more affordable level, work with us here. But how many of you would have done that? Sold your car at 23 years old to enter into a program on a leap of faith. That's aligning belief and behavior, right? Investing in yourself, that's an action, that's a behavior. Well, his belief is that he believes in himself, and I know that, and that he's gone on to earn 10 figures. He's gone on to earn over $10,000 in a weekend through multiple sources in a very short period of time, less than 6 months. So the stories will go on and on, guys, but the power of practice is lesson 8. Lesson 9 is on attitude and perspective. And a really good example of this is Viktor Frankl. This man survived the Holocaust. And he didn't have PTSD. He didn't have any ill effects. He understood this material going into the Holocaust, and he was able to control his attitude and the way he looked at things. He was actually grateful for the experience. And we have one of our clients, Joe Pismenti. He's actually got a tattoo that says attitude of gratitude. And I can't think of somebody who's got a better attitude, and coming into this material, start to understand, what attitudes it is. And he's been able to take that into his income, into his family life, into his job life. And he's even working with us here in the Matrix. So lesson 9 is on attitude and perspective. Lesson 10 is on quantum leap thinking. Quantum leap thinking. Mark Zuckerberg went from broke to billionaire almost overnight. That's a quantum leap in human beings. Most of you are thinking linear. I need to go 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. You're not thinking 50,000 a year, 50,000 a month, 50,000 a day. See the difference? One of our clients, Rob Watton, actually blew my mind. I got to be honest, blew my mind with this material. He's just a regular dude, great guy. He's an HVAC technician, and he's been working with us for a little while. And basically, in the last 4 months, out of thin air, he raised over $5 million to create a grow facility, a marijuana grow facility. And the funny thing is, when he was a kid, 17 years old, he was growing this stuff when it wasn't legal, right? And he has a passion for marijuana. He's a horticulturalist. I don't mean just like smoking. I mean, he has a passion for the science of growing it. He's a horticulturist. He developed those skills. Well, guess what? When you have a passion for long enough, now it's not illegal. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And now he raised $5 million and he's 20% owner of a major growth facility that's being built. And again, none of that was his money. Guys, if I asked you to raise $5 million right now, what would you say? You'd be like, you think that's possible? How would you do it? What would be the next step? Rob had none of that money. He had no idea where that was going to come from. Doesn't matter. He made a decision and the money came, right? That's a quantum leap in thinking. Guys, lesson 11 is the impression of increase. And honestly, that's what I'm hoping to do with you here. You're going to have a decision to make at the end of the webinar, but whether you decide you want to work with us or not is irrelevant. I want to leave you better off than I found you. And that's why I asked you guys about the value. So how many of you here, type a 1 in the chat if I've left you better off, if we're leaving you better off than we found you, giving you some ideas, we're getting you thinking. That's what we're really trying to do here. I want to leave you with the impression of increase, guys. And lesson 12 in the Thinking and Results program is the mastermind principles. This is where people really make quantum leaps. This is how I created a software company out of thin air in 60 seconds. Guys, I don't know anything about software. I don't need to. I had an idea. I instantly started writing things down, calling people, formed the company. Within 60 seconds, we had a formed company. We're up and running with ideas, and we started attracting investors. And I don't know anything about software, right? We have a client of ours. His name is Kyle Seaboth. He's the #1 real estate agent in the world. I want you to think about that. Residential real estate. We're working with the #1 real estate agent in the world, and we're teaching these mastermind principles, right? And his short-term goal is to get to $40 million a year in income by using these mastermind principles. So guys, we have clients all over the world, all different ages, all different genres and categories. Some people are trying to release PTSD. Some people are trying to be millionaires. Some people are trying to get to a physically healthy body. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. We can help you do it using this Thinking and Results program. So guys, successful people have one thing in common. There's a common denominator to success, right? Successful people hire mentors, right? They follow a proven system and they learn how to change paradigms by combining a proven system with expert mentorship. I want you to think about that. That's what I did. That's what Bob did. That's what Warren Buffett did, right? He had a mentor. His name was Benjamin Graham. All successful people, we shortcut by hiring mentors. And that's what you guys are going to have a chance to do here tonight. Guys, what I want to do here, you're going to have a chance to work with us. We're going to work with 100 people from this webinar. This is being broadcast. We have this on multiple platforms. You guys are just seeing what's on the Zoom. We have hundreds and hundreds of people on this. And we're going to work with 100 people from this webinar, 100 serious people. Right? And as your mentors, we're going to be teaching you how the world's wealthiest people think and act and operate, how the 1% operates, so you can get results just like our clients. And here's a picture of a party we had with our clients. Some of the people I mentioned, Daniel's over here. Who else is in here? Trying to think of who else came up. Some of our clients are all over the world, but I think Val Harper's in here, a few different people. These are real. These are real stories, real people. And we're going to grab 100 people from the webinar here tonight. You're going to have a decision to make to work with us, right? So the Thinking in the Results program, it's a 6-month training program. You're going to have 6 months of mentorship, right? You're going to get the Thinking in the Results program and the worksheets. You're going to get all 12 lessons that we talked about here as taught by Bob Proctor, right? And the value here is through the roof. I mean, there's over 22,000 in value. Some of this is lifelong, right? The lessons, the access to the Proctor Gallagher Institute, that's a lifelong thing. That's not 6 months and out. That's a lifetime access to it. So the value here is ridiculous, but we're just putting it over 22,000. Our standard Thinking in the Results is a 6-month program, and it's usually $6,800 paid in full or $7,800 paid with a deposit and payments. Guys, what we're going to do here on this exclusive Think and Grow Rich webinar is a couple of things. Number one, we're not going to work with you for 6 months. We're going to work with you for 12 months. We're going to put our heart and souls in you for 12 months, right? We're in a new decade. It's 2020. We're going to double the value on what we're doing. We're going to work with you guys for 12 months, and we're going to cut it down a little bit. It's going to be $5,800 paid in full or $6,800 with an $1,800 deposit here tonight and 10 monthly payments. So guys, I don't know how to make this any easier. I don't know how to make it any more affordable. For those of you that said that you're committed to being a millionaire, if you said you're committed to releasing things like PTSD or stress or anxiety, or if you're committed to getting to that goal weight, then this is going to be a no-brainer. And that's the point here. We're trying to make this such a no-brainer that people just take action and move forward with us. Our goal here is to help you. We don't need your money. We have all kinds of other revenue sources. This is our passion. Now, we'll take your money, don't get me wrong, but we don't need your money. This is not what we do for our primary source, right? So guys, here's another thing, and I don't know how to give more value than this. Bob Proctor himself has agreed to come work with this 100 people. I would not screw around with this. There should be a link in the chat right now. I think Maddie posted a link. If you want to be one of these 100 people, this is going to sell out almost immediately. Bob Proctor himself has agreed to come on and work with us with this special group of 100 people. I don't know how to give any more value than that. The guy's 86 years old. It costs $100,000 a day to work with him one-on-one. I want you to think about this. All right, guys, I'm going to hand this over to my daughter a little bit. She's going to take you through a little Imagineering exercise, but I want you to think about this. I would not hesitate, right? There's almost 1,000 people seeing this globally. This is going to sell out very fast. I would click on the link, make a decision, and move forward because it's going to sell out very fast. So, Maddie, why don't you, oh, I forgot to mention this. Guys, also, tonight, I forgot we value stack this so much. Anybody that signs up tonight and tonight only here, this is only here and now. This is not going forward. You're also going to get a complimentary paradigm shift ticket to the next event, which is 3 days of live coaching with Bob Proctor on a live stream. So anybody that signs up tonight only, you're also going to get the paradigm shift event ticket. All right, Maddie, so why don't you take us through a little bit about imagination?
Awesome, guys. So some of you, if you're anything like me, when I saw this information for the first time, my dad alluded to the fact that I kind of hit a terror barrier, right? He talks about lesson 7 with you guys, a terror barrier. And I hit that when I started studying this information. Some of you on this webinar, you might be sitting here thinking, yeah, Brian can do it, of course. Yeah, Maddie can do it, of course. Of course, Bob can do it. But can it work for me? Can it work for me? Do I believe in myself enough to make this happen? Some of you have never invested in yourselves before. I want to tell you, my dad made me pay for this course, okay? I took out my first credit card to pay for this course because I want you to imagine, right? Imagine my dad never came in front of this information. He'd still be in construction. I would have never come across this information. I would have never asked myself the question, what do I really want? What do I really want? Have you ever asked yourself, like, really, what do I really, really want? Because I hadn't asked myself that question. Imagine if Bob never started studying this information. He bumped into this information when he was working as a firefighter at 26 years old. Right? Ray Stanford showed him the book Think and Grow Rich. So imagine if none of us ever came across this information, everything would be drastically different. We certainly wouldn't be on the path. My dad and I would not be working together right now. And it's like one of the best blessings that we have. So I want you to close your eyes wherever you are. And I want you to just close your eyes. If you're looking at me right now, you're not closing your eyes. So close your eyes. I want you to imagine the next 6 months, right? You're going to be in an environment of people who all think alike. They're from all over the world. They all want what you want. They all want to be, do, and have more. Okay, you're going to be mentored by the best in the world, Bob Proctor. He's 86 years old. You're going to be mentored by Brian, myself, right? A global community. What is it that you're holding back on? Some of you have this monster inside of you, like I had, that's just screaming to get out. And you won't let it out. You keep suppressing it, like I was. I suppressed it and suppressed it and suppressed it. Because finally I understood, okay, this is up to me. Whoa. I can create my reality. Whoa. That's a lot. Right? But it's also beautiful because you have the power to create everything that you want. And so I want you to take another 10 seconds here and just imagine you actually take a leap of faith and you invest in yourself and you start marching forward with us, with Bob, and you stop leaving things on the table. You stop leaving things on the table. You start living for you. You start doing the things that you've always wanted to do, but you just haven't done them because you're afraid. Right? Now you won't be so afraid anymore, right? You have understanding of what this is, how your mind works. So much more peaceful this way. I promise you. I promise you, it won't make sense to stress out anymore because you'll understand your mind. Okay, you can all open your eyes now if they're still closed. We're going to have two choices, right? You have one of two choices. One of two. There's not three. There's only two. Number one is you invest in thinking into you get the entire wealth mindset toolbox, everything from going right now to where it is that you want to be, right? And finally step into your full power. Finally listen to that. Unleash the power within, right? Tony Robbins, unleash it, right? What is it that you want? You finally take marching steps forward towards your dreams. Or option two, keep doing what you've been doing, right? For things to change, you've got to change. You can try to figure this stuff out on your own. You know, my dad went 43 years trying to figure this stuff out on his own before bumping into the information. And let me remind you, 1 year with the information, guys, 1 year, 1 year, under $1 million to over $8 million, under $1 million to over $8 million. He told you about what happened with my income in the last few months. Do you think that those thoughts would have ever entered my mind? No one around me in my town earns more than I'd think like $500K a year. I never would have thought of that. So you have to make a decision, right? It is up to you, but for things to change, you've got to change. Back to you, Dad.
Thanks for that, Maddie. That's I love that visioneering exercise, and it's true, guys. We get so wound up and so caught up over small things. We magnify things. We think nothing about putting $5,000 on a credit card for a flat screen TV. When it comes to something like this, it's confusing. We're not used to doing it. It doesn't make sense, and that's why most people stay stuck. So one of the things that Bob told me that really punched me in the gut, he said, Brian, if you don't invest in yourself, do you really expect to win? And I'm like, ooh. Okay, Bob, here's $30,000 for a week. So that's what happened, guys. I spent $30,000 for the first week, and I didn't have it. But my results were not working. I said enough was enough. My way's not working. Bob's results would say that he knows what he's talking about. All right, guys, so if you don't invest in yourself, do you really expect to win? And I'm going to leave you with this. Maddie posted in the chat. You guys can click on that link. There's a few options there. There's a full pay option. There's a deposit option. There's also an option to book with one of our coaches if you're inspired to take a look at this, but you're just not sure and you need to talk to somebody. We're open to that. You can talk to one of our coaches, tell them your situation, let them know what's up, and you can book a strategy session for free, absolutely free. So there's a few options on that sign-up link. But guys, I'm going to leave you with this. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for coming tonight. I wish you all the very best in life. Have a great week. Have a great evening. Be well, and God bless. We'll see you soon.